Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show, Curryupstartup Leadership Podcast, a podcast to spotlight world class Asian leaders, C suite executives, and innovators who provide candid insights from their personal journey to inspire you. And this is your host, Priyanka Komala, joining you on our 77th episode of Curryupstartup Leadership Podcast. So, thanks to each one of you for your support and continue to subscribe to us by following Curryupstartup Leadership Podcast page on YouTube or following me and the LinkedIn page for our podcast on LinkedIn for your live notifications as well. All right, today I have with me an amazing wizard of the mind. And here we go, Naheed Khan. Hi, Naheed. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Priyanka. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Hey, such a pleasure to have you, Naheed. And Naheed is a very special mindset coach, and I've been following her work for quite some time. And I felt she has such an innovative approach to resetting the way your mind thinks through neuro-linguistic programming. And I was like, hey, we need to have you on the show, Naheed. And here she is.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Awesome. So to our listeners, 3 reasons why you need to be watching this show. Naheed is going to help envision how we can discover the power of infinite intelligence of your human mind. 2, she's going to empower you to explore the power within you to lead personal as well as professional changes. And 3, and most important of all, she is a change architect and a futurist who's going to help you believe that you can achieve what you want as long as you put your mind and body into it. So Naheed, are you excited to being on the show for us?
Absolutely. Very, very excited. Looking forward.
Awesome. So to our listeners, as part of our 12 days of Christmas giveaways, we are going to offer a free 30-minute exclusive one-on-one mentoring session with Naheed. Hey, a wonderful way to start your 2021, right? So all you have to do is drop a quick hello, the country that you're tuning in from, and a comment as we go through the show. We're going to take in live questions as well. So here's your chance to grab this exclusive mentoring session. And thank you so much, Naheed, for being gracious of your precious time to help us be a better version of ourselves.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Awesome. So we already have a listener joining in. I'm going to acknowledge them before we get started. We have Aditya, who's joining us here from the East Coast. Hey, Aditya, welcome to the show. All right, Naheed, I'm going to get started with you as a person. You grew up in Assam in India, and then you moved to Dubai, where you're currently based. And I know that a key aspect of your personal growth in terms of resilience came from your upbringing in Assam. Tell us something that's very unique about that aspect of your life growing up in Assam.
Sure. Assam is beautiful, beautiful. I'm so missing my home place right now. I have always gone back to it very frequently. I mean, I travel home approximately every 2 to 3 months. But it's going to be a year I haven't been home, and that really pulls at me. And that's the reason why I actually wrote about my state, because I'm really homesick. But yeah, growing up in that place when we were young, it was pretty disturbed with militancy. And at that time, like, we had schools shutting down. So this is nothing new for me, because we had schools shutting down for months at an end, and we had to stay home. And there was flag marches happening on the street, so we couldn't open the windows, nothing, blackouts happening. We've seen all those things. And the most beautiful part was that none of those things broke us up. It, in fact, just kept us going. All right, this is there, fine. And things open up and we are back to normal. So yeah, that's right. Right now, in the moment, we need to be inside the house. But as soon as things are lifted, curfew is lifted, we are out. So, life never stopped. It kept going even when we were locked up. Even then, it kept going. We didn't have online learning at that time. So, school off means everything off. We were behind by so many weeks and months of studies. But apart from all of those, Priyanka, when things started improving, the resilience of the people out there was not that coming out and complaining, we don't have this, we don't have that, we've not been given this. Yes, there was anger that we were neglected, we were ignored. And then it was like, we don't want anything, we'll make it on our own. And I think that is something which I took, and it just I think seeped inside me, because for me, it didn't matter what I had or I didn't have. What I wanted was what mattered. And that's it. I wanted to do something in life. There were no opportunities in my state. There was no jobs. There were no employments. There were no corporates. There was not even a central university in my state. The university degree that I have today is from a state university. That's all. So, in spite of all of that, it was never like that. My dreams are unachievable. When I started my career, I wanted to get into training, and I went to organizations and I said, I want this. And they're like, we don't have training department in the organizations here, because these are all only sales office. So if you want, you have to join as a salesperson, and that's all that we can offer you. So I joined as a salesperson, and I started training my sales team. And that's how I started. And that's when I did that for 2 years. I trained my team, and then they used to perform, and we were doing the best in the region just by doing that. I never went out on sales calls aggressively like a sales manager does. I used to go as a mentor. I used to go with them because they were so fabulously trained that I didn't have to do anything apart from sit there and, be there as a guide, as a mentor, as the expert for them. So they used to take me on those calls, and we were doing fabulously well. And that is how I landed up when SBI came up with an opening, and I got a job. I didn't apply for it. And
so that's the State Bank of India?
That's the State Bank of India. I was called there for a manager training. And that was the first opening for a training manager. And I had zero experience in training, no certifications, no trainers, nothing. And I got the job, and I got 497 branches under me.
That's amazing.
Exactly. So it was, if you have a dream and if you just keep going, it doesn't matter what circumstances are around you. Believe me, if you want to achieve something, nothing in this world can stop you.
That's an amazing way to start this episode, because with the pandemic, everybody feels like life has been turned upside down. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. But just hearing your powerful story of how you've changed your tunnel vision into more of spotlighting yourself and helping others succeed, I think that's just a great inspiration for us. So thank you for sharing that.
The issue is, Priyanka, that people are waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel when the light is in your hands.
Okay, well, absolutely. So that's where the wizard of the mind comes into the picture. Now, Naheed, tell me this. You are an introvert, which not a lot of people know. So how did you transform yourself into this bubbly personality who is inspiring others and coaching and mentoring people around you?
When you have your personal self, and then you are yourself inspired by something that you want to do in life. For me, my inspiration is my mission. I am on a mission. I don't think my work to be just work. I am on a mission. And it does not matter how many people's life I touch. My mission is to just keep on, no matter who I touch, I inspire. So whether it's a 9-year-old child or it's a 90-year-old human being, retired person, if they speak to me, they get inspired. That's my mission. They look beyond, they find themselves smiling. Because we have too much everywhere to keep us not smiling. So, if I can be the one person who can bring a smile on your face, and not just by telling you a joke, but I'm making you realize that it's your face, it's your muscles, move them, smile.
That's very true, because we find a lot of avenues to create more grief in our life. And we feel, we have to grieve so hard. We don't deserve happiness in life. And you feel joy is very external. Somebody has to come and give that to you. What advice would you have for people like us?
Priyanka, I had my share of grief, and I had my good share of grief, from losing people to death, from losing friendships, from broken heart, from broken relationships, and a lot of other things that I've gone through. Right from the age of 15, where I had to start fighting for my own education, to the age where I actually got married. Still before my marriage, there was quite a struggle that I'd gone through, because I was somebody who did not conform to the norms of the society. So that struggle was separate. Then my personal life struggles were separate. And then there were some dreams which were shattered, which I had to adjust, which I had to let go, which I had to, keep on the back burner for doing it later when I have the opportunity. We all have that. It's our choice whether we want to be sad. Because yes, I was sad. I was into depression. I was into severe depression. And I didn't have the opportunity to actually have somebody help me through, or go to a psychiatrist, or go get a counseling, or even have a coach. I didn't. I just had amazing, amazing friends. who were not in the same city as I was. So we had long distance phone calls, which used to go for hours. But the fact is that the thing that I realized was, as you said, nobody in this world has the power to make you feel cheerful, happy, hopeful, achieve your dreams apart from you. Today, that is the reason I understand the value of having somebody in your life who can guide you through, inspire you through. Grief, it'll come and go. It shouldn't stop you.
And
So
it
when
can't
you get,
define you, which is
it,
what a lot of people forget.
it should never define you. It's your mental state of mind which should define you. Yes, circumstances will always be up and down. They are. Even today, yeah, there are people that we've lost in the family, and I have not been able to see them. In fact, just 3 days back, we lost somebody very dear to us. She was my cousin granny, in fact, and very, very close to me. I didn't even get to meet her, to see her. I haven't met her in a couple of years now. We have these things, we can't help it. But does it change us? That's something which only we can choose. Do we let that those circumstances in life change us, who we are, and what we want in life?
That's very true. And you've already inspired a handful of our live listeners whom I'm going to acknowledge. So you get to see the impact that you've already created 10 minutes into the show.
Thanks.
All right. So we have Nikita Parmar. She says, hi, Priyanka and Naheed. Hi, Nikita. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nikita.
We have Hina Girdhar, who's joining us from India. Very inspiring story of you, is what she's saying.
Thank you, Hina.
And we have Satya, who says, hi, Priyanka. Hi, Satya. And says, nice interview. Awesome. So thank you for all of that. Sharing those personal moments of highs and lows, because as a mindset coach, people think that you have it all and it's been a perfect rosy life. But the way you actually respond to it is what is making you who you are today, which is what I wanted to highlight to our listeners.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, of course you have it all, because everything is inside you. If you are describing what you have it all as what's around you, then that's a very shallow description of your life. And that is something which will definitely make you weak, because it's like you've given your remote control in the hands of somebody else. So they switch it off and you're off, when it should be only in your hands. And you should choose when you want to, lower the volume and put it up, when you want to switch it off and switch it on. It should only be your choice. Circumstances should never define you. They will, as I said, they will always be ups and downs. So be it. That's life. Accept it. I mean, in my 40 years of life, I guess more than 20 years of struggle that I remember. But that's fine. Those are moments which have defined me, made me the person that I am, given me the strength that I have today, made me realize the importance of being who I am, being authentic, being vulnerable. And also at the same time, it has made me realize the value of life. We only get to live it once.
That's something that we all tend to forget. We crave for something else that doesn't exist in the moment. And though we hear these terminologies and philosophies that be in the moment, it's just so hard for us to embrace. And that brings to us the next question about neuro-linguistic programming, which is what you're an expert in. Tell us more about NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and how do you rewire your brain from being in a rut to where you are today in such a peaceful, serene mindset?
Okay. The peaceful, serene mindset is something which you create for yourself. I have been doing this work for the last 18 years now, but I only got certified as an NLP prac in 4 years back. And I didn't know how it was done and what the terminologies were, because, as I said, I was born and brought up in Assam. In fact, till 2011, I've been in Assam. I've worked in Guwahati. I've done everything in Guwahati. Yes, I did travel the country. I worked all over India, but I was based out in Guwahati. And then I got married and I moved to Kolkata. And then my husband has been one person who actually made, he picked out one after the other dreams from my past, and it's like, let's live this, let's do this. So he's one person who's actually taken those initiatives of, let's go to London, let's get your certification, because I was adamant, if I have to learn it, I'll learn it from Dr. Richard Bandler. And that is the reason why I couldn't go for the last 10 years that I wanted to go for NLP. I couldn't, because I wanted to go to Dr. Richard Bandler. And then things one after the other kept on happening. It was not possible for me to leave. And then he made it possible. But the work before that I was doing was already on the same grounds. I was transforming lives. I was changing people's mindset. I was changing their behavior. I was changing the way they worked. I was changing the way they looked at their work. And it was all done. I don't know. Sometimes you just are, you have, in NLP, we call this the unconscious competence. That is what we call your natural talents, your gifts, your uniqueness, which God has blessed you with, which comes from within you. This was something which came from within me. In fact, the first time that I was asked to stand up on a stage and deliver a training was when I was a student myself in an MBA institute. And I never heard of the word training before that. I hadn't. I had read about it in my HR books, but that's about it. That's all the exposure that I had to it. And then I had to stand out there and I had to, tell these people. And I did an MBTI. They had done an MBTI.
What does it stand for?
Myers-Briggs type indicator. So it's a personality test which they had gone through, and they gave it to me and they said, can you, just give us an understanding of what this is? And I looked at it and I was giving it to them, and they were like, how do you know so much about personality? I said, I don't. I just read this and I understood. That understanding came to me naturally. I could read people's behavior. I could read their body language. I could read, things which they were not even aware themselves that they were doing, like fidgeting with their fingers. They were not aware what it meant. For them it was just a habit. But when you associate it with the circumstance, with the words that they speak, a lot of other things comes out, as in what is going inside their mind. So that was something which I had started doing way back before I even heard of the term NLP. So yes, when I went for NLP and I got the information of the entire structure and the entire study, and I was like, cool, and I've been doing this for such a long time. Now I have more tools in my handbag. So it's easier. So things which I was doing earlier and used to take time, now I do it in one session. So, you've got 60 minutes to 90 minutes with me, and you go away with a lot of things which you take away from that particular one session.
That's such an amazing transformation, how you figured out what your calling was, and you could put a name to it as part of your toolkits that you've developed. So what is one advice would you have for us from that toolkit on how do you become a better version of yourself?
Listen to your words. I always say this to everybody. Listen to your words that you speak to yourself. Listen to what you are saying to yourself, and do not put yourself in that box of labels that I am this or I am that. Those labels limit you. They don't just define you, they limit you. Find out who you are, not just based on your profile or the work that you do or what you like to do. That's just a part of you. Who you are is so much more. Find out what makes you smile. Find out what brings a smile on your face when you see it around you. Find out what brings out that passion in you, that excitement in you. All of those things. Because when you find that out, you find your motivational strategy. And every human being has got certain strategies. For motivation, we have a strategy. For learning, we have a strategy. And we can identify that. Again, when I speak about identifying the patterns of thoughts. So when I listen to you speak, I listen to you because when you're speaking, you're also thinking. And when I listen to you speak, I'm seeing your pattern of thoughts. And that tells me exactly what you need to stay motivated, be motivated, get out of your rut, change the way your mind is thinking. Because usually there'll be some people who come and say, they always say this, they have always told us this, I've always been told this by them, or this is what they say, the others say. You just need to hear that. And then all you need to do is just bring the entire limelight, focus, spotlights, everything on what do you understand? What do you feel? What do you say? Because till now you've only been talking about them. So what about you? And that's where that's all for the, that one particular pattern interrupt is what we need to start the change.
That's very amazing. And mental health and well-being is such an interesting topic and the most sought after. I know a lot of my listeners wanted more experts in this field, and that's one of the reasons I had to bring you in as well. Now, one thing I think it's part of our Indian culture or our Asian upbringing is we don't really ask for help. When we know that we are making life harder for us, we are being too hard on, some of the issues, some of the ways we've responded in our life or handled crisis, we feel like, we have to feel bad about this for a very long time. And we don't ask for help. Words like therapy or mindset coaches is still considered a very alienated term to a lot of us. So I wanted to ask you, how to make people more comfortable of the fact that these are things where people are experts in and should reach out to you, or people like you in this field. So how do you advise people to feel comfortable about asking for help, reaching out to coaches like you?
It's not about asking for help. You just want somebody to talk to, right? Have a conversation with. Just have a conversation. It's like, okay, you want to go someplace and you know a route, and you would like to know if there are any better routes available. Faster ones, the ones with less traffic, the ones with less obstacles, the one with more scenic beauty. It's just simple as that. I'm sorry, I'm a traveler, so I love putting everything in the analogy of traveling. But I think that makes sense, because there are so many routes of going to one particular destination, and you've always been traveling one particular road, and you've always been told
This
what
is the
should
best
be.
road.
Yes, exactly. And I say, yes, it may be. What if I explore some more? Because maybe then I might stumble on places which have been unexplored, something which is so beautiful, something which is so beautiful about me, for me, around me. We don't know. If we don't explore, we'll never find out. So it's, don't ask for help. Just explore. Just have a conversation.
I like
Just
that
come and
attitude.
speak.
That brings up a very valid point in terms of having a support system of well-wishers and friends where you can actually vent out or just share what's happening in the back of your mind. Because a
Mhm.
lot of people are driven to, hasty decisions in life just because of the fact they don't talk to people. They don't want to share their real themselves. They don't want to portray the raw versions of them because of the aura or that picture perfect Instagram that they portray to the outer world.
The fear of being judged, Priyanka. The
You
fear of being judged, it's there with everybody. And especially today with the social media and Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and everything, everybody wants to have that perfect image of themselves. So it's like, if I open up and if I say that, okay, I have this problem, people are going to judge me. And even when they do share their vulnerabilities, they share it with a view that, oh, okay, this is going to help people, or this is going to make people like me. It's again about people. It's not about you. You're not coming out and sharing because that's a part of you which you'd like to put out there so that people can see you. No, it's about, if I'm putting out there something, then it has to be because people will like me. And that's something which has become so predominant with people, with almost everybody, that fear of being judged and that desire to be liked rules everything. It's okay if some people don't like you, because that will be a very limited number. And the mind is such that it only focuses on the scarcity, on the ones that don't like you, on the ones that come and criticize you. But you're not seeing that for the two that criticized you, there were 10 who appreciated you, who liked you. And I've seen this happen so many times. People come and say that, oh, you know what, this person said this about me. And I'm like, okay, so everybody concurred? No, everybody didn't. So what did everybody else say? Oh, they had good words about me. Okay, but you're not focusing there. You're just focusing on this one person who said this negative comment about you. And if they did, then that's their perception. It's not your reality. They don't know the real you. Nobody knows the real you. Even if you're putting yourself out on the public forum 100%, still I'd say that you still keep so much of yourself within. So if you are saying that I'm putting myself out there for people to see and they don't like me, you're lying to yourself, because you're not putting yourself completely out there. There are so many beautiful parts of you which you keep hidden because you fear those will be judged. And that's fine. Keep them hidden. But don't let the fear of being judged override every decision that you make. So yes, what you said, Priyanka, is so important. We should have that group of people that we can talk to. And it doesn't matter who it is. I've had amazing mentors in my life. I mean, people who are still there with me, and they've been there. Like one of my mentors, she's also my best friend. She's been there since for the last 17 years now. I've had my own mentor from my MBA times. Since 2002, he's been there in my life. He's there even today. And I've learned so much from him, so much from him. And I may not go and talk to him about my personal disappointments, but I know that if I speak to him, I get inspired. And then I have my friends who I do go and speak to about my personal disappointments. And then if there is nobody else, then take my advice, open a folder on your laptop or your computer or whatever it is, and just call it the brain drain. And then just open a Word doc in that, and without looking on the screen, whatever's in here, get it out. Just get it out as if you're just speaking to somebody. Just speak it out. Just do not think right, wrong. Do not even check for spelling mistakes. It's fine. It's not for anybody to read. Just take everything out and then shut it off. Keep it. You want to keep it. Otherwise, just delete it. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is for you to take it out of here. So if you want to talk to somebody, fine. If you do not want to talk to somebody, even then, take it out, because the more things that you keep inside you, the more they cause harm to you, because the words, the thoughts, those create emotions inside you, those create feelings inside you, and when you suppress them is when you get into a lot of mental health issues, including depression, including even for that matter, I've had patients, I've had clients who've had physical health issues, physiological health issues, and especially diseases which have no cause. They are diagnosed, but there's no cause for why did you have this. Like, for example, a migraine, like, for example, a neuralgia, an IBS. I've helped people get out of these physical, diseases, because these were suppressed emotions. They released it, and the problem's gone. I mean, I'm one of them. I had IBS for 7 years, and I'm free of it. I'm free of it just by doing exactly that, just letting it go. I've had clients who were patients going for physiotherapy for 6 years, 7 years, with pains in their ankles, knees, suppressed emotions. We did one session and her ankle was fine.
The core concept is the suppressed emotions, because we feel we want to lock it, and then that way it'll vanish one day. But until it finds an outlet, it's just going to cause more harm to you.
You will not believe this. There are people who tell me that, you should let go, you should let go. That is the most harmful thing to do to yourself, is to let go of things. Because when you let go of things, it's in limbo and it is around you and it will come back. And it does. It doesn't come back in the same way. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it comes back in a different perspective, in a different way, in a different situation. Sometimes it comes back in a way that you don't even recognize it's the same issue. But when you go and speak to an expert, and they will find it out, and they'll take you down and they'll say, okay, this is the problem, and from here stems all your symptoms of every other issue that you're having in your life. One particular problem can actually go into your, can create problems in your work life, in your relationships, in your own behavior, in your physical health, in your mental health. And the cause will be just one. So if you remove this cause, all this will just collapse on their own. What people do is they work on the symptoms. And when you work on the symptoms, you remove one, another one will spring up. You remove that, another one will spring up. So when you keep these suppressed emotions, they keep coming out. And when you let go of something, it's in limbo, it's going to come back. So don't let go of things, resolve them. I mean, why do you want to keep something which hurts you in your life, for that matter? We can't change the past. Neither can we forget the past, but we can definitely resolve the past, so that even if it stays, it's there on my timeline. I know it is there on my timeline. When I do the timeline sessions with my clients, I make them do this, elicit your timelines. Empty out your personal space. Empty out your present moment. What belongs to your past, let it go into your past. What belongs to your future, let it go into your future. Live in the moment. And then look at your past, because when you do that, you rationalize your memories, you rationalize the traumas and everything, you resolve them. And then it is just an incident which happened in the past. It doesn't have an impact on you. The main thing is to take away that impact. I don't say disconnect emotions. Yes, if you want, you can call it that. But the fact is, you do not disconnect emotions, you resolve them. You resolve the emotions, the impact, everything. So you look at it, okay, something which happened with me 10 years back. That's all. So what did I learn from it? I learned that I should be careful in doing this, or making decisions, or getting into a relationship, or when I get into a job. You will look at the lessons and the learnings. You will stop looking at it as a trauma.
I love the attitude which you have in terms of differentiating between trauma and looking at the lessons learned, because that's something that we entangle our emotions with, and it's just hard to rationalize at that point in time.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And that's all right, because that's how the mind has been programmed, the programming which has happened from a very, very young age. And nobody, and even including me, None of us ever thought of questioning it because we were never taught to ask questions. We were always taught to give answers. And hence, we have a problem in asking for help because we were never taught to ask questions. We were always supposed to give answers, and that to the right answers. Have the right answers, don't give the wrong answers. So, mistakes were not something which were appreciated, or even, it's like, oh, you've done a mistake. That's such a big thing, such a bad thing.
It
How
feels like
can
a
you
blunder
do it?
and the end of the world, right?
Absolutely. Exactly. You are made to feel so less. You're made to feel that you're such a bad person, a failure, just because you made a mistake. When it's like, mistakes are your stepping stones. They are your stepping stones for self-improvement, for improving your life, for improving your future, for improving who you are and what you want to become. If you've not made a mistake, that means you've never tried anything.
It
You've
feels
just
like, right.
followed.
It feels
You've
like
just
you've been programmed like a GPS, taking the same route and just subconsciously doing the same things all over.
You've just been going through life. You've never lived it. You've never
And that's
lived
a
it if
huge
you've never
difference.
questioned it.
That's very true. On that note, a couple of quick comments from our live listeners. We have Brian Thomas who's joining us. He says, "Hey Naheed and Priyanka. Hey Brian, welcome to the show."
Hi, Brent. Happy to have you here.
Do you know Brian?
Yes, of course. I was on his podcast too.
Hey,
It's
it's amazing.
amazing.
Brian was a guest on my show, and I was a guest on his show as well. So small
Yeah.
world there. And
Yes, it is.
Brian is such an amazing, amazing guy and an ally. So kudos,
Yeah.
Brian. Here you
Yes, he
go.
is. He
Two of your
is.
favorite podcast guests on one other different podcast. All right. So we have Hina Girdhar who says, "Interesting session, Priyanka." And she wants to ask a question about when we project ourselves. No, I shouldn't use the word project. When we show our real self, it's a double-edged sword because people might, take advantage of us. And that's a very vulnerable situation to be in. What advice would you have for Hina?
Draw your boundaries, Hina. People take advantage only when you don't have any boundaries and you allow them to take advantage of you. Draw your boundaries, put those boundaries up, and whoever it is in your life, no matter who it is in your life, they have to be out of that boundary. Inside that boundary, it's your personal space. Nobody is allowed to get inside that personal space. And when you are inside your personal space, safe and secure, showing yourself to anybody, because you are just being yourself. It's not about actually showing yourself. Don't show yourself, be yourself. Be your most authentic self. That is empowering. That is so, so powerful. When you are yourself, authentically yourself, and it doesn't matter to you what anybody thinks. Because understand, always remember this, no matter what people think, it's their perception, it's not your reality. So I can only be taken advantage of if I allow it. It's a difficult thing to learn, especially for women from our subcontinent, Indian subcontinent. I know because we've been brought up to be givers. We have never been brought up to protect our boundaries, but we need to. We need to. I come from that same. I've just been. It's just been 2 years for me here in Dubai. I've been all through my life. I've been there, and I'm still a pure, pure, pure Indian by heart. I know what it is to be an Indian woman. And I know that what you are talking about here, do not worry. It's not about who takes advantage of you. It's who you allow to take advantage of you. Draw up your boundaries. That's
One of
all.
the Thank you, Hina, for that great question. And I agree with you. As part of our upbringing, we never had this personal space concept. Like, I can relate to a lot of it. Having grown up in India, everybody could indulge in your space, be it physical, emotional. But having been in the US, you have this concept that, you ask for my availability, or, you
Exactly.
ask me before you do certain things with me. And that's
Mm.
like a huge, a
Shift.
boundary that you'll have to set around yourself. And it's hard for people to understand that now your lifestyle is different. It's not just because you're in a different country, but you're now a much more mature person. You understand that concept of space.
Yeah, but should that make a difference to you is what you need to answer. What people understand, what people believe, what people find difficult, it's there. It's for them to understand and change. If you want to draw your boundaries, draw your boundaries. It doesn't matter which country you are in. It doesn't matter where you are in. I come, as I said, I come from the same society where everybody had the right to come and, say things about what you're doing in your personal life, how you should live your personal life. I drew that boundary when I was 15 years old. I don't want it.
Kudos to you.
But I still got it.
That's awesome, Hina. Sometimes that's awesome. Thanks for the question, Hina, as well. So, Naheed, one challenge with setting up those boundaries is it could be a lonely journey because people might not understand why you are asking for, why you're putting certain limits. And sometimes we start questioning ourselves, like maybe I should just be like everybody else, not having those boundaries. What advice would you have there?
There is a difference between drawing your boundaries and shutting yourself out. Don't shut yourself out. Still be the same person. Still be the same society, the one who's in the society doing everything as you've always done, is just with those boundaries that this is my personal space and you're not allowed to come and, meddle in here or give your opinion. If they give their opinion, fine. Put your filters out. I mean, I always say this. I've done this. I put my filters out. So yeah, I'm listening to you because, of course, we have to respect our elders and of course, the people in the society. So thank you so much for your opinion. I take it as your opinion. It doesn't mean that I have to accept it and apply it. Fine. That's all you need to do.
That's a huge mindset shift. And, that's a wonderful way where you're appeasing to your community because that's what they expect out of you. But at the same time, you're staying authentic to yourself by saying like, okay, I get what you're saying and I acknowledge it, but it's up to me whether I'm going to implement it or not.
Absolutely. That's all you need to do when you draw your boundaries. You don't need to push anybody out or shut yourself out. You just need to realize that this is who I am, this is what I'm comfortable with, and this is what I'm not comfortable with. So I acknowledge what you're saying, but I don't apply it. I mean, it's not necessary for you to accept everything.
Very true. I know we had such great discussion on the topic of mental health and setting up boundaries. A couple of other live comments that we're getting in. Brian says, yay. Hina's saying, thank you.
My pleasure.
And thanks for organizing this session as well. Our pleasure, Hina. So keep those wonderful comments coming in so we understand the kind of topics that our Asian community is dealing with and bring in the right experts like Naheed to guide us through resetting ourselves in 2021 and beyond. We have Purandar who's saying very informative and helpful. Thanks, Purandar, for joining as well. So let's talk about you, Naheed. You do a lot of mindset transformation work in the leadership development space. What is one thing that you're very proud of that you can share with our listeners?
I worked as a consultant for the government of India. It was a 1-year contract which I did, and I was working with the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. And, they were going completely paperless office concept and going online and, changing the entire way that work was being done till now to the new way of going digital. And so I was there as a capacity development expert. And my entire project was basically, there were different policies of the government which were there under the National E-Governance Division. And I was put in the state of Assam. So I was working there in the secretariat. I was reporting to the Commissioner Secretary of ICT. And I'm very proud of the fact that Priyanka, the Chief Secretary of the state, knew me by my name, knew me by my work, because in 3 months' time that I was there, I actually, apart from laying the stones, which was done by somebody else, I stood there and I got the training center made. And I had the people, and I'm talking about the bureaucrats, coming for training sessions, coaching sessions in that training center. And I had the full support of the Chief Minister and the Chief Minister's office and the Chief Secretary. And it was an amazing, amazing feat because in that particular time, we had trained more than 2,000 state officials, including the bureaucrats, and I'd organized workshops and training workshops for the IS officers as well as even the ministers of the state. So that was amazing. That's something which I always cherish. The kind of work that I did out there, the kind of transformations that we had, in terms of mindset. Because for them, they didn't need to do all of these things. They had the option of saying no, but the kind of sessions that I had with them, the approach that I had, and the conversations that we had, and there, it took 3 months time, but they did start changing. So that was the biggest achievement for me, when I could work at that level where people do not have to change, and they don't want to change, and they start accepting that it is good to change, and they start changing.
That's just a wonderful way to look at how the government is functioning. But the best part about is it's your hometown, and you see
Yeah.
the radical shift that's happening and how you're able to create an
I
impact
am a
by giving
contributor
back.
to that. I'm a contributor to that, and I still have my legacy inside the Assam Secretariat, which is the training center, which I did open up there. So yeah, it's a beautiful achievement that I'm going to cherish for life.
That's such an amazing aspect of your life, and I'm so glad you're helping people in that community find inspiration, find ways to embrace the new future.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this: as an Asian who's in this field of mindset coaching, neuro-linguistic programming, what is one challenge that you have seen personally as part of building your profession?
I don't know. I thrive on challenges, Priyanka. So I don't find any challenge as a challenge. I find challenge, okay, yes, a challenge. So I don't look at challenges that ways. Being an Asian, I haven't found a challenge. Yes, to some extent, yes. The challenge that is there is that we Asians, or people from our continents and subcontinents, we are taught to think very less of ourselves. All right. In any comparisons, any comparative, any competitive environment, we are always like, think very less of yourself, see yourself as a very small, in a very small existence. Of course, it's changing now, but I'm talking about from where I come from. So that for me was a challenge, because when I did put myself out there on the world stage, and I was working with an organization based in Singapore, and I was doing doing workshops on design thinking. And I was working in collaboration with the National University of Singapore, with the professors out there. But when I look at it, I see it as something which is a very big achievement. But at that time, I was like, it's like I used to think of myself as very small. As it's comparatively, I'm so privileged to get this opportunity to do this work. Yes, of course, I am privileged, but not because of anything else. But I'm privileged because I have that talent, but I didn't believe in that talent. And we all have this, I think, this imposter syndrome that we go through and especially coming from our place, because women are not then empowered to think for themselves. We always have somebody else making our decisions and making those choices in our life. Even if we have been given the liberty, we have the liberty inside a framework, never beyond that framework. Whatever you need to do inside this. So it's like a golden cage that we have. And when you are inside a cage, you have that mindset of thinking within that only.
Yeah, you just put blinders around your eyes, right? You feel like, this is what my parents want me to do. This is what my partner wants to do. This is what my family wants me to do. And then you go into this autopilot mode.
Exactly. So that is something which I do feel is a challenge even today, because I still have that thing in my blood. I am from that culture. I am from that society. So
part of the DNA.
Part of my DNA. It does come up, and when it does, oh, all right, I'm thinking like that again. It's like, it's good, because as I said, it's a challenge that, I'm again thinking that way. So yeah, still something left in me, and I think it will always be there in me, because I have that patriotism inside me. I still have tears forming in my eyes when I see somebody, singing the national anthem. So yeah,
that's very true. I'm so glad you're balancing and integrating, I should say, more than balancing, the cultural DNA that you bring, but as well as being authentic and standing up for yourself, based on the situations that you face.
I don't think, Priyanka, that we ever need to give out our values and our culture because we want to move ahead in life. We can very beautifully align them. Just all we need to do is just rewire how we think. We don't need to change the culture. We need to change how we perceive the culture. It doesn't stop me, it empowers me. My country, my culture, my society empowers me. It gives me the strength. It's my backbone. It's not my weakness.
That's amazing. So, what are three tips that you leave our listeners with in terms of rewiring your brain this holiday season?
Question everything. That's the only thing that I every time tell anybody and everybody. You believe in something, question it. What makes you believe it? If it is something which you've been told, then the next question should be, do you believe in it? In it? Is it according to your own beliefs and values? And again, if there are things that you've been, blindly following in your life, what makes you do them? And are those things which are bringing you contentment, or are those things which are limiting you? And ask yourself as many questions as you can when you're speaking, when you're listening, when you're doing anything. Question everything. Just ask questions. Don't just believe anything and everything. If you find a reason, and if you find that reason which is aligning with what your values are, perfect, very good. And if it doesn't, then the next question should be, what do I need to change?
These thought-provoking questions involve a lot of pause and reflection in our lives. And that's like a huge shift in terms of how we deal with life. So thank you for highlighting
we
that.
We work on autopilot. So just, in this holiday season, you have the time. Reflect, write down what you believe in, what makes you believe in them. And if there are things which you've never questioned, I've questioned everything, right from my traditions to my religion to everything, until and unless I could find a reason, a logic, which makes me feel that, yes, this is something which I believe in, not which I am made to believe in. So if you can find that, because that adds to the purpose of your life. Find a purpose in your life. If you're leading a purposeless life, and when I say purpose, people think purpose is to do with alignment of goals. Goals is just one thing. Your purpose in life is very different. It's your own personal mission. What are you doing? What are you living for? Are you living just for your family, or for that success, or for that house, or for that lifestyle, for that money? Or there's something more, something which, even if nothing else in the world exists and that you have, you can still smile.
No, that's very true. And no, that's such amazing advice. And as you're speaking, I'm just like, hey, the wizard of the mind is here, unveiling a lot of interesting aspects as to how our brain works.
Yeah, it does. Our brain is wired to take us towards pleasure and away from pain. So if you have taken that pain and put it in a place of pleasure, that's exactly where your mind will go. It's like whatever you focus on in life will appear in your life more. So if you've been focusing on pain, then you've just replaced it with pleasure, and pain gives you pleasure. Come on. That's not how your brain is naturally wired. It is wired to take you towards pleasure, away from pain. Keep it like that. And then if it has been taking you towards pain, realign it. Put the pain away and the pleasure back in its place.
How do you reset that? By putting the pain away and focusing more on the pleasure? Because by default, we always look at what's missing or what's causing us pain. What's one advice you would have?
Look at what you have. Look at what you have. Even if you have nothing, look in the mirror, look at your eyes, you can see, you can speak, you can hear, you're breathing, you've got fingers, you've got limbs which are functional, you've got food to eat, you've got water to drink, you can smell the freshness around you, you can smell the beautiful smells around you, you can see the colors in front of you. There are people who are colorblind who cannot differentiate between colors. There are people who cannot smell. There are people who cannot see. There are people who cannot speak. You're blessed. If you want to count your blessings, there you will fall short. But we don't look at that. We look at what we don't have. We have so many things, and then we don't have one thing. And the full day, our focus and attention is, we don't have this, we don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. Just try and change that. Start looking at what you have. Start looking at what you have around you, in you, within you. And you will see your world change, because when you start looking at that, you will start feeling that gratitude. And gratitude is the biggest weapon to change or rewire your mind. I have special sessions where I use the power of gratitude to start transforming your entire thought process. So even if it is a negative thought that you have, Just thank it, and then just look around. Okay, so I don't have this. All right. Okay, thank you for letting me know. But what do I
I have a
have?
ton of other things.
Exactly. What are those ton of other things? Don't just say the ton of other things. Open that box and start putting everything out on a hanger, one piece at a time. Start counting your blessings.
That's a very nice way to put self-love out there for you. And it's interesting you brought up this because I've been in this habit of writing the top 3 things that I'm grateful for every day, just as a way of journaling. And I feel those days you're lighthearted, you feel good about life, and you're not pushing yourself into unnecessary complications.
Mhm. Why limit to top three? Why can't you just go on and just write whatever you feel grateful for?
That's a great idea.
Give yourself 5 minutes to do this exercise and see the list growing. Because when you start with, you'll maybe write 3, the next day you'll write 5, the next day you'll write 10, 15, 20, and then that's how you actually rewire your brain. Because as the list grows, your brain is actually being reprogrammed to look at abundance and away from scarcity. If you're just fixed at 3, you're still fixed. You're still fixed. You're not growing. Grow into abundance.
That's a great way to think about it. And I'm going to take your advice to heart and start overflowing my thoughts as much as I feel about things that I should feel grateful about. So thanks for that.
Give yourself 5 minutes. 5 minutes in the morning. That's all you need to do. Or at night, 5 minutes.
That's awesome. Thank you for that advice. We have a fun rapid fire round for you. Are you ready for it?
Absolutely.
So you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the following in one word, if possible. Who's your role model?
My mom.
How does she see your success?
She's very proud of it.
How do you define happiness, Naheed? I'm very curious about this question.
Being in the moment, living in the moment, looking at what I have in my life, being thankful.
What is your native language and one word to describe Naheed in that native language?
My native language is Urdu. And one word to describe me in that native language. Oh, okay. Ziddi.
And give us a translation in English.
Stubborn. As in, I'm stubborn if I want to do something, nothing in this world can stop me. I mean, even if there's no way and everybody walks away saying that it's an impossible thing that you're after, fine, cool. That's according to you. For me, I will find a way. I will make a way. I don't think there's nothing in this world which is impossible. So I'm very stubborn in that.
That's a very nice way to look at you. It's the abundance mindset that you mentioned in our show as well. So thank you so much, Naheed. This was such an amazing conversation, and I feel inspired, and so do our listeners who tuned in live. And I'm quite sure those who are watching or hearing this on replay as well. What are your parting thoughts as we wrap up this episode?
I love what you're doing out here, Priyanka. I mean, this concept of bringing up not just the typical leadership discussions, but actually bringing out the personal leader in a person. Because I always believe that leadership, before you define it with positions and labels and anything else, starts from being you. And it starts from who you are and how you are leading your life. Because we all are leading. Even when we are following, we are leading. So bringing out that aspect of leadership, I really, really appreciate what you're doing here. So I would love everybody to, please subscribe to Curryupstartup Leadership Podcast. Do give it a listen. This is really interesting, really different, and amazing job. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Naheed. Such a pleasure. And thanks for your valuable time. We are super excited that you shared a lot of wonderful ways in which we can reprogram our mindset right from today. And there is no excuse or no sense of fear or anxiety that should stop us from living the best version of ourselves.
Anxiety is just you thinking in a particular pattern. I mean, change that pattern. Your anxiety will disappear. And I've actually had clients who had come with severe anxiety, and then by the time they leave, it's like it's gone. Because it's just a way of thinking. You've just been looking at something with so much of focus. Let's change your focus.
That's very true. And that's a wonderful reminder for all of you listeners to leave in one key takeaway from this episode with Naheed on Curryupstartup Leadership Podcast. And as part of our 12 days of Christmas giveaways, one lucky listener is going to get 30 minutes of free exclusive mindset reprogramming mentoring session with Naheed. So drop in those comments and your takeaways, and we'll announce one lucky winner in 2021, just in time to begin your new year. Thank you so much, Naheed. Such a wonderful session. And for me personally, I've learned a lot from your personal journey. And the key takeaway on this Career Startup Leadership Podcast, episode 77 with Naheed, the wizard of the mind, is one, focus on the positivity in your life. Focus on what you're grateful for. And I love that advice. For 5 minutes every day, write things that you're grateful for. Be it the roof over your head, the food on your table, hot shower, anything as simple as
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Right. And two, you know, it's always interesting to understand the scientific concepts behind misery and joy and look at a way in which you can program your mind by focusing more on the pleasure rather than the pain aspect of it. And three, follow your dreams, have a purpose in life. And that's something that we often tend to forget because everybody looks for a stable paycheck, a 9 to 5 job, and, just leading life, but you're not living your life to the fullest. So I hope this is a nice wake up call to live life to the fullest. And I'm super excited to see how I'm going to take all these wonderful mindset hacks into my own personal journey and be a better version in 2021.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. It was lovely to be here.
Thank you. And to all our live listeners and those who would be watching on replay, thank you so much again for joining us. Do continue to subscribe to us. If you're following on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn, drop in a quick comment on your takeaway and put your hat on for that free mentoring session. Until another episode, which is going to happen tomorrow with a CEO who's focused on AI, this is your host, Priyanka Komala, signing off on Curryupstartup Startup Leadership Podcast, a podcast to spotlight world-class Asian leaders, entrepreneurs, C-suite executives, and innovators who inspire you with their candid journey. Continue following us to receive all those LinkedIn Live notifications or our YouTube notifications. Have a wonderful rest of the day.